We're here with Central College softball coach George Wares as Central prepares to open Iowa action this weekend, taking our weekly look at Dutch softball. Coach, I know that you guys are excited to get outdoors here in Iowa, 14-2 on your spring trip to Arizona. Give us a feel for the kind of the state of the program as we get set for Iowa action this weekend.
Well, obviously after the start we feel pretty good after the two games that we dropped, and got off to 14 straight, and some against solid competition, some against not real great competition, which you'd expect us to handle. And like every other year when you get back, then you're forced to go back inside, although we're lucky we've been outside enough, and you never know what a 10-day layoff's going to be like. But part of it was good because we definitely needed some rest. We had a couple kids banged up a little bit. Emily Nayland just got the stitches out a couple days ago, so she will not be able to play this weekend other than the pinch running role, so we lose some depth at third base. And then Katie Timbor, she's thrown quite a bit in practice, and we're going to give it a shot against Dubuque, at least an inning, and see what it's like, assuming the next couple of days in practice go as well as the previous ones have. So, and our practice has been pretty intense. I think you can kind of get a read as a coach how well kids work when there's not a game the day or two removed from practice, and this team has stayed pretty focused, and hopefully that carries over to a successful weekend.
Is your lineup solidified going into Iowa action, or is there still some things you're trying to figure out?
I think we're pretty ready. We may tweak a thing here and there, especially with Nayland out, but for the most part, in game one of our doubleheaders, we'll go with Kylie in the circle, obviously with Caitlin Meyer catching, and then Timbor and Davis on the right side with Annie Sarcone, freshman, and that's where we have Whiteside plugged in, although Nayland would still get some time there when she's healthy. And then in the outfield, left to right, Koskamp with Holly Bonfametti and Emily Tabrink with Everingham DPing for Whiteside. And offensively, most likely it'll be from 1 to 9, Tabrink, Koskamp, Davis, Timbor, Lithberg, Meyer, Everingham, and where am I at? Sarcone at the 8th spot, and then number 9 with Holly Bonfametti. So we feel pretty good about that lineup, at least as our game one lineup.
Size up the competition this weekend. Wash U and Dubuque, a non-conference Dubuque game. That's a doubleheader Friday at Grinnell. And then Saturday you've got Wartburg, a traditional rival that certainly struggled last year.
Yeah, WashU is WashU, and we've had we didn't play them last year, interestingly enough. We were supposed to play them in their tournament, but that got rained out. Claire Voris, one of the better pitchers in the country. We've had a lot of history with her, and interestingly enough, her and Kylie, same conference in high school, and the old story that Kylie never beat her in high school, and then finally 2 years ago we had that real dramatical win against them at our place, and first time Kylie's had a victory against Voris, and so that helps. I think it's in her memory bank now that she has beat her head to head, and so that's going to be a tough out in terms of scoring runs. She's a very quality pitcher. It'll be interesting because they play Simpson before us, and they've got a little bit of a coaching decision as far as, because Simpson's a very good team as well, how they're going to go with Voris, one of those two games, or maybe pitcher back-to-back, knowing they have Grinnell the next day, which is a little softer schedule for them. And Dubuque, I'm a little disappointed that we're playing them only because we played them, obviously. We're supposed to be Wisconsin-Oshkosh, and the fact that Oshkosh bailed out, it was either play one game only or play Dubuque as a non-conference game. We both agreed to do that, and and we want to play at this point, obviously, and they're much improved. It's one of those teams. It's easy to say they could beat us because they have. Just as early as there was reasons 2 years ago, I believe, and so it's going to be another one of those Iowa Conference teams that is better this year, which means the league's going to be better. They aren't going to win the league, but they're going to be a team that's going to beat some people, and we're going to treat it, even though it's a non-conference game. The thing people have to understand is non-conference regional, they're almost as significant because you have to make sure you take care of regional victories as well. And then Saturday, Wartburg, you're accurate. They had a very down year last year by their standards. They went from a national power where I thought in as recent as 07 or the last time they had a real quality team, I thought they were maybe the pick to win it and got upset in the regional. They lost Detterman. Let's face it, that's a tough loss. She transferred from Wartburg to Luther, and I think that's a hard thing for any program to recover from. And they've just struggled because of it. They're 6-13, but they were struggling last year, and we went up there, and if you'd watched that game, you'd have wondered which team was struggling because they basically stuck it to us, and they were all over Kylie. She had no answer in that game. Unfortunately, a freshman at the time, Rihanna Fleetwood came back and got a big win in game 2. So on paper, you think sweet, but it's the Iowa Conference, and you can never quite predict what's going to happen. But I think the fact that they got us last year up there, I don't think there's any chance we're going to be overlooking them when we come into Saturday.
You speak about teams that could win the Iowa Conference, or couldn't. 2 of them that could win are going head-to-head this weekend. Luther and Co., along with yourself, the top 3 picks by the coaches, stack up the league race. And for those 2 teams, how important is it? And as a Central coach, how are you watching that doubleheader?
Well, I'm hoping that they go 22 innings in game 1 and 22 innings in game 2, and then all the pitchers just wear out. It's a couple of 1-0 games, and the thing you want there is for the games to be played. But with our new, that we put in recent years, the new allowing more game time to be made up in case there is a rain, it's not as likely that a game won't be played, and that's an interesting game. And obviously when we're done with Wartburg, and that's our biggest thing, is take care of Wartburg, it's going to be some interesting score watching to see how that turns out, and you never know. You can't go wrong there once it's played. I mean, a split is the safe prediction, because that's usually what happens in those kind of games, and that's probably good for both of those teams. And then the other side of it is somebody sweeps, you give that team the edge. They become the conference favorite, but you also put the other team in a tough spot to go 0-2, and so there's nothing bad that can happen there except a rain out. So I'm just glad they're playing each other and we're not playing either one of them early. And they are 2 contenders. They're ranked 4th and 16th or something like that nationally, with us being there. And Simpson's going to be very, very solid. And then you look at some of the other teams. Loras is much improved. Cornell is much improved. Dubuque, I've already talked about, much improved. I think Buena Vista is much improved. And in fact, to be honest, the only team that looks like they maybe aren't as improved is Wartburg. But again, you never know what they're going to do when they get in the Iowa Conference. They're well coached. They've got a great tradition, and I'll speak more about that when our 2 games are over, and I'll let you know whether they are down or not.
Well, those games are 2 o'clock Saturday in Pella, Central with the home opener and also Iowa Conference opener. Good luck this weekend, Coach.
Thanks a lot, Trevor.
All right, George Ware, Central College softball coach, talking Dutch softball. I'm Trevor Castle.